3,000 free-range chickens stormed into our woods. Their claws sent dead leaves flying everywhere. Zhao Pengcheng stood on the ridge, hands on his hips, grinning as he called out to my dad, "Old Jiang, look how hardworking my chickens are. They're loosening your soil for you. You don't even have to hire anyone." My dad's face darkened, but he said nothing. I picked up a plastic tub and walked behind a low slope at the edge of the woods. Then I opened the sealed mash I'd left overnight. A sweet sour wine smell mixed with fermented caramel spread through the air. I mixed the distiller's grains with peanut bran, then tossed in a few handfuls of wriggling red worms. I scattered it evenly over a clean patch of gravel. A few bold chickens came over first, tilted their heads and stared. Then they pecked. After that, more chickens rushed in, wings flapping. They fought over that juicy, sweet sour fermented feed. The red worms were alive, squirming between their beaks. To chickens, this was top-tier food. In less than 15 minutes, everything I'd scattered was gone. But the flock refused to leave. They paced back and forth over the gravel, lowering their heads to search for leftover worm bits. So I tossed out a second tub. This time, even the old hens watching from far away came running over. By evening, Zhao Pengcheng came over whistling to round them up. He stood by the woods and whistled for 3 minutes. Only a few scattered chickens slowly walked over. The other 2,000+ chickens stayed at the edge of my woods. Some rolled in the sand, and some tucked their necks in for a nap. "What's going on?" Zhao Pengcheng frowned, and blew the whistle even harder. The flock looked up at him once, then went right back to scratching dirt. "Uncle Pengcheng, did your chickens get lost?" Zhao Pengcheng stared at the tub in my hands and said nothing. He took off his shoes and stepped barefoot into the muddy woods. He chased and shouted for over half an hour, before finally getting most of them onto the truck. But over 200 chickens wouldn't budge. He was panting hard, standing in the mud with his hands on his hips, cursing. In the end, he had to leave those 200 behind and drive off in his truck. My dad stood at the shed door, stunned. "Xiaochen, these chickens aren't leaving?" I poured the remaining feed into the trough. "Nope." "Dad, just wait and see. In 3 days, even if Zhao Pengcheng bangs a gong, he won't get a single one back." By the third day, things blew up. Early that morning, Zhao Pengcheng drove his truck to the woods. His workers followed behind him, holding bamboo poles and plastic paddles. He wanted to drive all the chickens back. But he realized his chickens no longer listened to him. All 3,000 chickens rushed into my woods as soon as the sun came up. They didn't dig up the herb seedlings or peck at the tender sprouts. They just squatted around the gravel patch, stretching their necks toward the shed. As soon as I came out with the tub, Zhao Pengcheng told his workers to surround them from behind and drive them with poles. The chickens were startled and flew up in a frenzy, but they didn't run toward the truck. Instead, they flew over the workers' heads and deeper into the woods. "This is ridiculous." Zhao Pengcheng's face turned red with rage. He stomped into the mud and chased them himself. The flock scattered through the trees, like gray marbles flying everywhere. They just wouldn't gather near him. He chased them for half an hour and didn't catch a single one. Finally, he stood by the woods gasping for air. I walked out with a freshly mixed tub of fermented feed and casually scattered it over the gravel. The flock smelled it and rushed in from every direction. In less than 5 minutes, the whole area was packed. They buried their heads and devoured it. "Jiang Chen, what the hell did you feed them?" "Uncle Pengcheng, don't accuse me like that. Your chickens ran in here by themselves. I couldn't stop them. I just tossed out some distiller's grains. They like it. What can I do? Besides," I crouched down and picked up an herb seedling root the chickens had dug out. I held it up in front of him. "Your chickens ruined hundreds of thousands worth of my seedlings. I haven't even come after you yet. And now you're coming after me?" Zhao Pengcheng's face shifted from green to pale. He glared at me, then turned and left. That night, the whole village heard about it. The gossip from the village store drifted into my ears. "That Jiang Chen kid is ruthless." Zhao Pengcheng drove chickens into his woods. And not only did he not stop them, he actually won the chickens over. Did you hear? Zhao Pengcheng's chickens only recognize Jiang Chen's trough now. Zhao can't call them back at all. How is this going to end? That's 3,000 chickens. 70 or 80 each. That's over 200 grand in assets. I squatted by the shed, mixing feed, while my dad sat on the threshold and said, "Xiaochen, doing this won't make Zhao Pengcheng back down." I brushed the bran off my hands. "I know, Dad. That's exactly why I'm waiting for him." The standoff lasted 5 days. Every morning and evening, Zhao Pengcheng came to drive them back. Every time he failed miserably. During the day, his chickens all gathered in my woods. Even if he forced them back to the coop at night, they would run back on their own the next morning. He fed them rice and corn, but they only took a few bites. He changed feed several times, but the chickens still ignored it. But with my fermented distiller's grain feed, the flock went crazy the second they smelled it. On the 7th day, Zhao Pengcheng finally couldn't take it. That afternoon, he came alone. He stood outside the shed, his face dark. "Jiang Chen, name your price." "What price?" He pulled out a cigarette and lit it, then took a hard drag. "Stop pretending. I can't get these 3,000 chickens back, but you're not getting them for free. If you really want to raise them, pay me something. I'll sell them to you." "Uncle Pengcheng, how much?" 100 each. 3,000 chickens. 300 grand. I laughed. "Uncle Pengcheng, free-range chickens on the market. Go for 70 or 80 if they're big. 50 or 60 if they're small. Your 3,000 chickens have eaten in my woods for 7 days. Sure, they've gained weight, but at the end of the day, they're second-hand goods you don't want. I'll pay 200 grand max." 200? You're robbing me! Then forget it. If your chickens want to stay here, let them. I won't chase them away. They loosen my soil, eat bugs, and fertilize the land. Works for me. I just wonder how long your empty coop can sit there." Zhao Pengcheng's face twitched. Of course, he knew every empty day meant another loss. The egg production from his 3,000 chickens had already dropped by more than half. If this kept going, he wouldn't even make back the feed money. He stood there gritting his teeth. 250 grand, not a penny less. 220, final offer. Take it, and I'll transfer the money. Don't take it, and we're done. Zhao Pengcheng stared at me for a full half minute. Fine, 220 it is. I'll take the loss. That same day, I went to town and withdrew 220,000 yuan, then handed it to him in neat stacks. Zhao Pengcheng counted it again and again, then looked up and glared at me. Then he turned and left. As he walked away, even his back looked frustrated. My dad stood at the shed door, staring at the receipt, his hands shaking. Xiaochen, where did you get that much money? I smiled. Borrowed it. Brother Liu Yang lent me 100,000. I saved 50,000 in college. The last 70,000 was the seedling fund you gave me before. You're gambling. It's not gambling. I opened a new notebook and wrote down a few lines. Bought 3,000 chickens. Cost 220,000 yuan. Estimated seedling loss, about 80,000 yuan. Market value of chickens, about 250,000 yuan. Net book loss, about 50,000 yuan. I stared at that number for a while, then closed the notebook. The account wasn't settled yet. It had just begun. That night, after buying the 3,000 chickens, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. The 220,000 was gone. The book still showed a hole of over 50,000. Most of the herb seedlings had been dug up, and the rest had been trampled crooked. My dad crouched at the shed door smoking, one cigarette after another, saying nothing. I knew what he was thinking. Over 400,000 had gone in, and the seedlings were ruined. The chickens were bought, but whether they could make money, nobody knew. Before dawn the next day, I got up. I walked around all 500 acres of woods, writing down where the flock gathered, how badly the seedlings were damaged, and where the water sources were. When I reached the southeast corner, I found a gentle slope on higher ground. It was overgrown with weeds, but the soil was loose, and drainage was good. This was a good spot for a coop. I walked another half-mile west, and saw a small stream flowing down from the mountain. The flow wasn't strong, but it ran all year. To the west was a low-lying patch, covered in water hyacinths and wild grass. I could dig a reservoir here. A plan slowly formed in my head, raising chickens under the trees. The chickens would eat bugs and grass. Their droppings would fertilize the land, helping the herb seedlings grow. The stream could be diverted into a pond to solve the water problem. The coop would be built on higher ground, well ventilated and dry, to reduce disease. This was exactly what I had learned at agricultural college. I just never thought I'd have to use all of it in my first year after graduation. When I got home, I told my dad the plan. He stayed silent for a long time. Then he crushed his cigarette on the ground. Do it! The seedlings are already ruined anyway. If we don't try, we're dead either way. I got to work that same day. I borrowed a used three-wheeler from my childhood friend Liu Yang, and hauled back 2 loads of wire mesh and wooden stakes from town. Then I set up a simple fence around the edge of the woods. It wasn't to keep Zhao Pengcheng's chickens out. The chickens were mine now. It was to keep them from running too far away. Old Li was from the neighboring village. He'd raised chickens for 20 years, within dozens of miles. He was the most experienced old hand. I brought him 2 bottles of liquor, and asked him to be my technical advisor. Old Li smiled as he accepted the liquor. You're a college kid, and you're asking an old country guy like me for advice. What's in books is dead knowledge. What you know with your hands is alive, Uncle Li. Please help me figure out how to manage these 3,000 chickens. Old Li took a sip of liquor, then narrowed his eyes. These chickens are Zhao Pengcheng's batch? Yeah, I know that batch. They're local mixed breed chickens. The base stock isn't bad, it's just that Zhao Pengcheng fed them too.